The old car had been making strange noises for weeks now. Jennifer knew she should have taken it to a mechanic, but between paying rent, buying groceries, and keeping her daughter fed and clothed, there just wasn't any money left over for car repairs. She'd learned to ignore the rattling sound under the hood and the way the engine sometimes hesitated before starting. That Tuesday evening, though the car had other plans, Jennifer was driving home from work with her 6-year-old daughter Lily in the back seat. The highway was packed with rush-hour traffic, cars streaming past in both lanes. The sun was starting to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the road. Lily was humming a song she'd learned at school that day, her small voice barely audible over the sound of the engine. Then everything went wrong at once. The engine made a loud grinding noise that sounded like metal scraping against metal. The dashboard lights flickered. The steering wheel suddenly felt heavy in Jennifer's hands. She pressed the gas pedal, but the car wasn't responding anymore. It was slowing down, coasting, dying right there in the middle of the highway. "Mommy, what's happening?" Lily's voice had lost its cheerful tone. "It's okay, sweetie. Just stay calm." Jennifer tried to keep her voice steady even though her heart was pounding. She flicked on the hazard lights and wrestled with the steering wheel, guiding the car toward the shoulder of the road. Without power steering, it took all her strength to turn the wheel. The car rolled to a stop on the narrow shoulder, barely off the main highway. Trucks and cars whizzed past them, making the small sedan shake with each gust of wind. Jennifer sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, trying to catch her breath. She turned the key in the ignition. Click, 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 nothing. The engine didn't even try to turn over. She tried again. Same result. Dead as a doornail, as her grandmother used to say. Jennifer pulled out her phone and looked at the screen. 8% battery. She'd forgotten to charge it the night before because she'd fallen asleep on the couch after her evening shift cleaning offices. No charger in the car because Lily had borrowed it last week to plug in a toy, and it had disappeared somewhere in her messy bedroom. She opened her contacts list. Who could she call? Her mother lived 3 hours away and didn't drive anymore. Her brother was working the night shift at the warehouse. She had a few friends, but asking for help always made her feel ashamed. Everyone had their own problems. Everyone was struggling to get by. "Is the car broken?" Lily asked from the back seat. "I think so, honey." Jennifer tried to smile in the rearview mirror. "But don't worry, we'll figure it out." The truth was, Jennifer had no idea what to do. She didn't have roadside assistance because that cost extra money every month. Money she simply didn't have. She could call a tow truck, but those weren't cheap either. And then there would be the repair bill. Her stomach clenched at the thought. She'd been saving up a little bit each month, hiding $20 or $30 here and there in an envelope in her dresser drawer. Last time she'd counted, there was about $300 in there. That was supposed to be her emergency fund for the whole year. Looked like this was the emergency she'd been saving for. Jennifer stepped out of the car, making sure to watch for traffic before opening the door. The wind from passing vehicles pulled at her work uniform, a cheap polyester shirt with her company's logo on it. She walked around to the front of the car and popped the hood, propping it open with the metal rod. She stared at the engine like it might suddenly explain what was wrong. She knew almost nothing about cars. Her ex-husband used to handle all that stuff, back when they were together, back before he decided being a father was too much responsibility and left town without a forwarding address. That was 3 years ago now. Jennifer had learned to handle a lot of things on her own since then, but car engines weren't one of them. Everything under the hood looked like it always did. Dirty and complicated. She could identify the oil cap and the windshield washer fluid reservoir, and that was about it. She touched a few things tentatively, not sure what she was looking for. Nothing was smoking or sparking or obviously broken. The sun was getting lower now. In another hour it would be dark. The thought of being stranded here after sunset made Jennifer's anxiety spike even higher. She pulled out her phone again. 7% battery now. She needed to make a decision. She could call her brother and leave a message. He'd see it when his shift ended at midnight. But that meant sitting here on the side of the highway for 5 or 6 hours with Lily. She could call a tow truck, but then how would they get home? And where would they have the car towed? She didn't have a regular mechanic. "Mommy, I'm hungry." Lily's voice came from inside the car. Of course she was hungry. It was almost dinner time. Jennifer had been planning to make spaghetti when they got home. The pasta and sauce were sitting in her kitchen cabinet, Not doing them any good here on the highway, I know, baby. We'll eat soon, I promise. Jennifer had 2 granola bars in her purse, the cheap kind from the dollar store. That would have to do for now. She got back in the car and handed one of the granola bars to Lily, who took it without complaint. Good kid. She'd been through a lot in her short life, and she'd learned not to ask for much. That broke Jennifer's heart sometimes, how easily satisfied her daughter was with so little. Jennifer unwrapped her own granola bar but couldn't bring herself to eat it. Her stomach was too tied up in knots. She sat there watching cars pass by, feeling invisible. Hundreds of people driving past, all of them with somewhere to be. None of them noticing the broken-down car and the worried mother inside. She thought about her 2 jobs. She worked at a call center during the day, dealing with angry customers who wanted to complain about their bills. Then 3 evenings a week, she cleaned office buildings downtown. Between both jobs, she made just enough to cover rent, utilities, food, and Lily's after-school program. There was never anything extra. Never any cushion for when things went wrong, and things went wrong a lot when you were poor. Rich people didn't understand that. They thought poor people just needed to budget better, save more, make smarter choices. But there was nothing to save when every dollar was already spoken for. There were no smart choices when all your options were bad. The car had cost her $2,000 3 years ago, bought from a guy who ran a used car lot on the edge of town. It had over 150,000 miles on it even then. She'd known it wouldn't last forever, but she'd hoped to get a few more years out of it. Needed to get a few more years out of it. Without a car, she couldn't get to work. Without work, she couldn't pay rent. Without rent, she and Lily would be out on the street. It was like dominoes, one thing knocking into the next, and Jennifer was always one disaster away from everything falling apart. "Mommy, why are you crying?" Jennifer touched her face and realized tears were running down her cheeks. She wiped them away quickly. "I'm not crying, sweetie. Just tired. It's been a long day." Lily didn't look convinced, but she didn't argue. She just went back to eating her granola bar, staring out the window at the passing traffic. Jennifer looked at her phone again. 5% battery. The screen was dimming automatically to save power. She needed to make that call now, before the phone died completely. She pulled up the number for directory assistance, about to ask for a towing company, when she heard a sound behind her. A car was pulling up, parking behind them on the shoulder. Jennifer's first instinct was fear. She'd heard too many stories about women alone on the highway. She made sure her doors were locked and watched in the side mirror as a man got out of the vehicle behind them. He was older, maybe in his 50s, wearing a dark suit and tie. His car was nice, one of those expensive sedans that cost more than Jennifer made in 2 years. He walked toward her car with a casual stride, not threatening, just calm and purposeful. Jennifer cracked her window open about 2 inches. "You need some help?" the man asked. His voice was friendly with a slight rasp to it. "Car broke down," Jennifer said, stating the obvious. "I was just about to call a tow truck. Mind if I take a look?" "I'm pretty good with engines." Jennifer hesitated. Every instinct she'd developed as a woman told her not to trust strange men, especially when she was vulnerable. But there was something about his face, something genuine in his expression that made her pause. "Mommy, maybe he can fix it," Lily said from the back seat. Her face pressed against the window. The man smiled at Lily and gave her a small wave. That gesture somehow made the decision for Jennifer. She unlocked the doors and got out. "I appreciate you stopping," she said. "Most people just drive right past." "I know," the man said. "That's part of the problem with the world these days. Everyone's in too much of a hurry to help each other." He walked to the front of the car where the hood was still propped open. Jennifer noticed his shoes were expensive leather, the kind that probably cost what she made in a week. His suit was perfectly tailored. This was clearly someone with money, someone from a completely different world than hers. He leaned over the engine, not seeming to care that he might get grease on his fancy clothes. He touched various parts, jiggled some wires, checked some connections. He pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight, shining it into the darker corners of the engine compartment. "Try starting it," he called out to Jennifer. She got back in the driver's seat and turned the key. Same clicking sound. Nothing. The man straightened up and walked to her window. "Looks like your alternator gave out, and your battery's probably dead too, since the alternator hasn't been charging it. That's why your car lost power while you were driving." Jennifer had no idea what an alternator was, but she understood it was expensive to fix. "How much does something like that cost to repair?" she asked, dreading the answer. "Parts and labor? Probably $600–700. Maybe more, depending on where you take it." Jennifer felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. $700. She had $300 in her emergency fund. Where would she get the rest? She couldn't put it on a credit card because her credit was ruined from medical bills a few years back. She couldn't borrow from family because they didn't have it either. The man must have seen the expression on her face because his own face softened with understanding. "Tell you what," he said, "let me make a phone call." He walked a few steps away and had a brief conversation on his phone. Jennifer couldn't hear what he was saying over the sound of traffic. He came back a minute later. "I've got a tow truck coming. They'll be here in about 20 minutes. They're going to take your car to a repair shop I know. Good, honest mechanics. They'll fix it right." "I can't afford," Jennifer started to say, but the man held up his hand. "Don't worry about the cost right now. Let's just get your car taken care of and get you and your daughter somewhere safe. Where do you live?" Jennifer told him her address. It was about 15 miles away. "The tow truck will give you both a ride home. I'll follow to make sure you get there safely." "I don't understand," Jennifer said. "Why are you doing this? You don't even know me." The man smiled, and there was something sad in it. "Let's just say I remember what it's like to struggle. And I believe in helping people when you can. Pay it forward someday when you're able to." Before Jennifer could respond, she saw Lily had gotten out of the car and was standing next to her. The little girl looked up at the man with wide eyes. "Are you an angel?" Lily asked seriously. The man laughed, a genuine sound that made him seem less like a wealthy businessman and more like someone's kind grandfather. "No, sweetheart. Just a person who happened to be in the right place at the right time." True to his word, the tow truck arrived about 20 minutes later. The driver loaded up Jennifer's car while the man in the suit spoke to him quietly, out of Jennifer's earshot. She saw money change hands. Then the man came back over to where Jennifer and Lily were standing. "They're going to take good care of your car," he assured her. "The shop will call you in a day or two to let you know it's ready. But the bill," Jennifer tried again, "is handled." "Don't worry about it. I can't let you do that. I don't even know your name." "You can call me Robert," the man said. "And yes, you can let me do this. Sometimes we all need a little help. There's no shame in that." Tears welled up in Jennifer's eyes again, but this time they weren't tears of despair. They were tears of relief and gratitude and overwhelming emotion at this unexpected kindness from a complete stranger. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea what this means." "I think I do," Robert said quietly. The tow truck driver called out that he was ready to give them a ride home. Jennifer and Lily climbed into the cab of the tow truck. As they pulled away, Jennifer looked back and saw Robert getting into his expensive car. He waved at them, and Lily waved back enthusiastically. "I told you he was an angel, Mommy," Lily said confidently. Jennifer pulled her daughter close and kissed the top of her head. Maybe he wasn't an angel exactly, but at that moment on that darkening highway, he might as well have been. The tow truck dropped Jennifer and Lily off at their apartment building just as the last light was fading from the sky. Jennifer thanked the driver, who gave her a kind nod before driving away. She stood there for a moment, watching the truck disappear down the street, still trying to process everything that had just happened. "Come on, sweetie. Let's go inside and make some dinner." Their apartment was on the 3rd floor of an old building that had seen better days. The elevator had been broken for months, so they took the stairs. Lily held her mother's hand, skipping up the steps despite the long day. Kids had that kind of energy, bouncing back from things that would flatten an adult. Inside the apartment, Jennifer flipped on the lights. It wasn't much, just 2 small bedrooms, a cramped kitchen, and a living room barely big enough for a couch and a TV. But it was home. It was safe. It was theirs. She made the spaghetti she'd been planning, boiling the pasta while Lily sat at the kitchen table coloring in one of her books. The apartment was quiet except for the sound of bubbling water and Lily humming that same song from school. "Mommy, can I draw a picture of the nice man?" Lily asked. "If you want to, honey." Jennifer watched as her daughter carefully drew a stick figure with a tie, standing next to a car. In the sky above, Lily drew a halo. Jennifer smiled despite herself. Her daughter really did think Robert was some kind of angel. Maybe he was. Maybe that's what angels looked like in the real world. Not beings with wings and harps, but ordinary people who chose to do extraordinary things for strangers. After dinner and after Lily's bath, Jennifer tucked her daughter into bed. The little girl was asleep within minutes, exhausted from the day's events. Jennifer kissed her forehead and pulled the blanket up to her chin. Then she went to her own room and sat on the edge of her bed, finally allowing herself to fall apart. She cried for a good 10 minutes. Not sad tears exactly, but tears of relief mixed with stress, mixed with gratitude, mixed with shame. Relief that they were home safe. Stress about what would have happened if Robert hadn't stopped. Gratitude for his incredible kindness. And shame that she'd needed help so badly that she couldn't handle things on her own. Pride was a funny thing. Jennifer had worked so hard to be independent after her ex left. She'd sworn she'd never rely on anyone else again. And here she was, having to accept charity from a complete stranger because her life was held together with duct tape and prayer. She wiped her eyes and pulled out her phone, which she'd finally been able to plug in and charge. She wanted to do something, anything, to thank Robert, but she didn't have his phone number, didn't have his last name. She had no way to reach him. The only thing she could do was what he'd asked, pay it forward someday. That night, Jennifer barely slept. She kept thinking about the car, about the repair bill, about how Robert had just paid for everything without blinking. $700, maybe more. He'd handed it over like it was nothing. For someone like him, maybe it was nothing, but for someone like her, it was everything. The next morning was Wednesday. Jennifer had to work, but she didn't have a car. She called her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, an elderly woman who lived 2 doors down. Mrs. Chen had a car but didn't drive much anymore. Sometimes she let Jennifer borrow it in exchange for help with groceries or cleaning. "Of course you can borrow it, dear," Mrs. Chen said when Jennifer explained the situation. "Keep it as long as you need. I'm not going anywhere this week." Another kindness. Jennifer was keeping track now, making a mental list of all the ways people had helped her. She'd pay them all back somehow. Someday. She got Lily ready for school and dropped her off, then headed to work in Mrs. Chen's old Toyota. The call center was in a gray building downtown, filled with rows of cubicles where people sat wearing headsets, talking to frustrated customers all day long. Jennifer's job was to handle billing inquiries, which really meant getting yelled at by people who thought their phone bills were too high. She understood their frustration. She complained about her own bills all the time, but it still wore on her, having to stay polite and professional while people screamed at her about charges that weren't even her fault. That morning, though, she found it easier to be patient. After what Robert had done for her, the angry customers seemed less important. Their problems felt smaller. She had perspective now. During her lunch break, she called the repair shop. A man with a gruff voice answered, "Yeah, we got your car. Working on it now. Should be done by tomorrow afternoon." "And the bill?" "Already taken care of." "Didn't I tell you that yesterday?" "I know, but I just wanted to confirm. The gentleman who arranged everything, Robert, he paid for all of it. Every penny. Even tipped our tow truck driver. Don't see that every day." Jennifer thanked him and hung up. She sat in her car in the parking lot, eating the peanut butter sandwich she'd packed, and stared out at nothing. Who was Robert? Why had he helped her? Was he really just a good person who happened to drive by, or was there more to it? She thought about his expensive suit, his nice car, the way he'd spoken to the tow truck driver with easy authority. This was a man who was used to getting things done, used to solving problems, the kind of person who probably ran a company or something, and yet he'd stopped for her. He'd gotten his hands dirty looking at her engine. He'd spent his money fixing her car. Why? Jennifer didn't have answers, but she couldn't stop thinking about it. That evening, after picking up Lily from her after-school program, they went back to the apartment. Jennifer had her second job that night cleaning offices downtown. Usually her brother could watch Lily on cleaning nights, but he was working overtime at the warehouse. So Jennifer had to call another neighbor, a young woman named Ashley who sometimes babysat for a few dollars. "Don't worry about paying me tonight," Ashley said when Jennifer tried to hand her money. "I heard about your car trouble. Just get back on your feet first." Another kindness. Jennifer added it to her mental list. She worked at 3 different office buildings that night, vacuuming carpets, emptying trash cans, wiping down desks, cleaning bathrooms. It was mindless work, but it was honest work. She didn't mind it most days. It gave her time to think. Tonight she thought about Robert again. About the look on his face when he'd said he remembered what it was like to struggle. That's what stuck with her. He hadn't always been wealthy. He'd known hardship once. That's why he understood. That's why he'd helped. It gave Jennifer hope. Maybe she wouldn't always be struggling either. Maybe someday she'd be the one with enough money to help other people. Maybe someday she'd be driving down a highway and see someone broken down, and she'd be able to stop and fix their problems just like Robert had fixed hers. The thought made her work faster, harder. She wasn't just cleaning offices. She was building towards something. Every dollar earned was a dollar closer to stability. Every shift completed was one more step forward. By the time she got home that night, it was almost 11. Ashley had fallen asleep on the couch. Jennifer woke her gently and paid her for the babysitting, even though Ashley protested. "You need it more than I do right now," Ashley said. "And that's exactly why I'm paying you," Jennifer replied. "Because you're helping me when I need it most. That's worth something." After Ashley left, Jennifer checked on Lily, who was sound asleep. Then she collapsed onto her own bed, exhausted but unable to sleep right away. She kept thinking about what Robert had said. Pay it forward when you're able to. When would that be? When would she be able to help someone else the way she'd been helped? She was barely keeping her head above water as it was. There was never anything extra, never anything left over. But maybe that was the wrong way to think about it. Maybe paying it forward didn't have to mean money. Maybe it could be smaller things. Kindness, time, attention, helping Mrs. Chen with her groceries, babysitting for Ashley when she needed it, listening to her coworkers when they were having bad days. Small acts of kindness multiplied across a lifetime. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was the point. Thursday morning came too fast. Jennifer dragged herself out of bed, got Lily ready for school, and headed to work again in Mrs. Chen's car. The call center was as busy as ever, phones ringing constantly, angry voices in her headset. During her afternoon break, the repair shop called. "Your car's ready." "Runs like a dream now. New alternator, new battery. We even fixed that rattling sound you probably didn't even know you should get fixed. Thank you so much. I'll come pick it up after work. No rush. We're open till 7. At 5 o'clock, Jennifer left the call center and drove Mrs. Chen's car to the repair shop. It was a small place tucked between a tire shop and a fast food restaurant. The kind of place that didn't look like much from the outside, but did honest work. The mechanic was a middle-aged man with grease under his fingernails and a friendly smile. He handed her the keys. "She's all set. We did a full inspection while we had her. Everything else looks good. You should get another few years out of her at least. I really appreciate it. And please thank Robert for me if you see him again." The mechanic gave her an odd look. "Robert? Oh, you mean Mr. Richardson? Yeah, he's a good man. Helped a lot of people over the years." "Richardson?" Jennifer asked. "What does he do?" "You don't know? He owns Richardson Industries. Big company, makes automotive parts. Probably employs a few thousand people in this city alone." Jennifer felt her stomach drop. Robert wasn't just wealthy. He was really wealthy. CEO of a major company, wealthy. And he'd stopped to help her on the side of the highway like it was the most natural thing in the world. She drove her newly repaired car home in a daze. Richardson Industries. She'd heard of them, one of the biggest employers in the region, and the CEO had fixed her car. When she got home, she immediately looked up Richardson Industries on her phone. Their website showed a professional photo of Robert, smiling in a suit much fancier than the one he'd been wearing on the highway. His full name was Robert Richardson, founder and CEO. She read his biography. Started the company 30 years ago with a small loan and a lot of determination. Built it from a tiny machine shop into a major manufacturer, known for treating employees well, paying fair wages, offering good benefits. There was a quote from him on the website. "I never forgot where I came from. I grew up poor, and I remember what it felt like to struggle. That's why I believe in taking care of people. We're all in this together." Jennifer read that quote 3 times. He'd meant every word he'd said to her on the highway. He really did remember what it was like to struggle, and he'd made it his mission to help people whenever he could. She thought about her own job at the call center. The company she worked for wasn't great. Low pay, no real benefits, high pressure. They didn't care about their employees. They just wanted numbers, quotas, metrics. What would it be like to work for someone like Robert, someone who actually cared about the people who worked for him? That weekend, Jennifer took Lily to the park. It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon, warm and sunny. Lily played on the swings while Jennifer sat on a bench, watching her daughter laugh and play with other kids. An elderly woman sat down next to her. They exchanged smiles the way strangers do in public spaces. "Your daughter is beautiful," the woman said. "Thank you. She's my whole world, I can tell. You have that look. The look of a mother who'd do anything for her child?" Jennifer smiled. Guilty as charged. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the children play. Then the elderly woman spoke again. "My husband and I used to bring our kids to this park. That was 40 years ago now. Time flies. Do you have grandchildren?" "5 of them. All grown now, too, making their own way in the world." The woman paused. "You know what I've learned in all my years? The smallest kindnesses matter the most. Smile, a helping hand. Those are the things people remember." Jennifer thought about Robert, about Mrs. Chen lending her car, about Ashley babysitting, about the mechanic doing good work. "I think you're right," Jennifer said. The woman stood up to leave, but before she did, she pressed something into Jennifer's hand. "A $20 bill. Buy your daughter some ice cream," the woman said. "Or save it for something you need. Either way, I want you to have it." "I can't take this," Jennifer protested. "Sure you can. Someone helped me once when I needed it. Now I'm helping you. That's how it works." The woman smiled. "Pay it forward someday," those same words. "Pay it forward someday." Jennifer watched the woman walk away, disappearing into the park crowd. She looked down at the $20 in her hand. It wasn't much money. But it was the gesture that mattered. Another stranger, another act of kindness. The world was full of Robert Richardsons, people who helped simply because they could, simply because it was the right thing to do. Jennifer folded the $20 bill carefully and put it in her wallet. She'd save it for now, and when the right moment came, she'd pay it forward. Just like Robert had asked. Just like the elderly woman had asked. Because that's what people did. That's how the world kept turning. One small kindness at a time. That night, after Lily was asleep, Jennifer pulled out a notebook and started writing. She wrote about what happened on the highway, about Robert stopping to help, about the mechanic fixing her car, about Mrs. Chen and Ashley and the elderly woman in the park. She wrote about kindness and hope and the way people helped each other when things got hard. She wrote about her determination to do better, to climb higher, to someday be in a position where she could help others the way she'd been helped. It wasn't a plan exactly. It was more like a promise to herself, a reminder of who she wanted to be. She didn't know it yet, but that promise would change everything, because sometimes the smallest moments plant seeds that grow into something bigger than we ever imagined. Sometimes a stranger on a highway sets something in motion that ripples out far, beyond that single moment. Sometimes, kindness is just the beginning of the story, not the end. 3 months passed since that evening on the highway. Life went back to normal for Jennifer, or as normal as life ever got when you were working 2 jobs and raising a kid on your own. The car ran perfectly now, just like the mechanic had promised. Every time Jennifer started the engine and heard it purr smoothly, she thought about Robert. She'd tried to find a way to thank him properly. She'd even called the main number for Richardson Industries once, but when the receptionist answered and asked what the call was regarding, Jennifer had frozen up and hung up. What was she supposed to say? That the CEO had helped her on the highway and she wanted to say thank you? It sounded ridiculous. Besides, he'd asked her to pay it forward, not to thank him. So that's what she tried to do. She helped Mrs. Chen with her groceries every week. She babysat for Ashley's kids when Ashley needed a break. She donated $5 to the food bank, even though $5 wouldn't go far. It was what she could afford, and it was something. At work, she tried to be kinder to the angry customers who called. She reminded herself that they were probably struggling too, probably worried about money just like she was. That made it easier to be patient with them. Small things, small kindnesses. That's all she could manage right now. But she hoped it counted for something. Then one Tuesday morning in late spring, everything changed. Jennifer was at her desk at the call center halfway through her shift when her supervisor approached. His name was Gary, a middle-aged man who always looked stressed and drank too much coffee. "Jennifer, can you come to the conference room for a minute?" Her heart dropped. Being called to the conference room was never good news. Had she done something wrong? Was she being fired? She'd been trying so hard to do good work, to hit her numbers, to not give them any reason to let her go. She followed Gary down the hallway, her mind racing through possibilities. Maybe it was about the time she'd taken a longer lunch last week. When Lily's school called about a scraped knee, or maybe her call times were too long. She tried to be efficient, but she also tried to actually help people, and sometimes that took extra time. Gary opened the conference room door. Inside, there were 3 people Jennifer had never seen before. 2 men and a woman, all dressed in business clothes that looked expensive, professional, important. "Please, have a seat," the woman said, gesturing to a chair. Jennifer sat down, confused and nervous. Gary left the room, closing the door behind him. Now she was really worried. "I'm Catherine," the woman said. "I'm the HR director for Richardson Industries. These are my colleagues, David and Thomas." Jennifer's breath caught. Richardson Industries. Robert's company. "We're here because we're expanding our customer service operations," Catherine continued. "We're looking to hire about 50 new people for our call center. Your supervisor gave us a list of his best employees and your name was at the top." Jennifer blinked. "I don't understand." "We'd like to offer you a position with Richardson Industries," Catherine said. "Better pay, full benefits including health insurance and dental, paid time off and opportunities for advancement. We believe in taking care of our employees." Jennifer stared at her. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. "Is this because of Robert?" The words came out before she could stop them. "I mean Mr. Richardson? Because he helped me a few months ago?" The 3 people exchanged glances. Catherine smiled gently. "We don't know anything about that. We're here because you're good at your job. Your call ratings are excellent. Your supervisor says customers specifically ask for you sometimes. You're exactly the kind of person we want on our team." "But the timing," Jennifer said. "It seems like too much of a coincidence." Catherine leaned forward. "Jennifer, Mr. Richardson gives us hiring guidelines, but he doesn't tell us who to hire. He doesn't even know your name is on our list. We make these decisions based on merit. You earned this opportunity." Jennifer felt tears pricking at her eyes. She didn't know whether to believe them or not, but she wanted to. She desperately wanted to believe that she'd earned this on her own. "What's the pay?" she asked quietly. Catherine named a figure that was almost double what Jennifer currently made. With that salary, she wouldn't need her second job. She could spend evenings with Lily instead of cleaning offices. She could start saving real money, not just hiding $20 bills in an envelope. "I'd need to give 2 weeks' notice here," Jennifer said. "Of course. We respect that. We'll email you all the details today. Take some time to think it over, discuss it with your family, and let us know by the end of the week." Jennifer nodded, not trusting herself to speak. If she tried to talk, she'd start crying, and she didn't want to cry in front of these professional people with their expensive clothes and their life-changing job offers. She went back to her desk in a daze. The rest of her shift passed in a blur. She couldn't focus on the calls. She kept thinking about the offer, turning it over in her mind, looking for the catch. There had to be a catch, right? But Catherine had seemed genuine. They all had. And Jennifer's supervisor really had recommended her. She knew that because Gary had told her last month that her numbers were some of the best in the department. Maybe this was real. Maybe this was actually happening. After work, she picked up Lily from the after-school program. Her daughter bounced into the car full of energy and stories about her day. Jennifer listened, smiling, but her mind was elsewhere. At home, she made dinner while Lily did her homework at the kitchen table. Mac and cheese from a box, the cheapest kind. But if she took this job, maybe they could afford better food. Maybe they could eat fresh vegetables more often instead of whatever was on sale. After dinner, after Lily's bath, after story time and tucking her in, Jennifer sat on her bed and pulled out her phone. She looked up Richardson Industries again, reading through their website more carefully this time. They had a whole section about their company culture, about how they valued their employees, about their benefits package, about opportunities for growth and education. They even offered tuition assistance for employees who wanted to go back to school. Jennifer had always wanted to finish her degree. She'd dropped out of college when she got pregnant with Lily, and she'd never had the chance to go back. Maybe now she could. She lay in bed that night staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Her mind kept spinning through all the possibilities. A better job, better pay, benefits, time with her daughter, maybe even finishing school someday. And then the other thought, the one she kept trying to push away but couldn't quite manage. Had Robert done this? Had he somehow arranged for her to get this offer? Part of her hoped he had. It would mean he'd thought about her. that their brief encounter had mattered to him as much as it had mattered to her. But another part of her hoped he hadn't. She wanted to believe she'd earned this on her own merit. That she was good enough, capable enough, worthy enough without anyone's help. Maybe both things could be true. Maybe Robert had opened a door, but she'd walked through it herself. Maybe that's how it worked. The next day, Jennifer called Catherine and accepted the job offer. 2 weeks later, she started at Richardson Industries. The building was nicer than her old call center. Clean, modern, with big windows that let in natural light. The break room had a coffee machine that actually made good coffee, and there were healthy snacks available for free. Her training class had 12 other new hires. They all seemed nervous that first day, sitting in the training room with their new employee handbooks, trying to absorb everything at once. The trainer, a friendly woman named Rebecca, welcomed them warmly. "We're glad you're here. Richardson Industries believes that our employees are our greatest asset. We're going to train you well, support you, and give you opportunities to grow. All we ask in return is that you do your best and treat our customers with respect." It was a different world from Jennifer's old job. There, management had been distant and cold, more interested in numbers than people. Here, even on the first day, she felt valued. During lunch break, Jennifer sat in the cafeteria with some of her fellow new hires. The food was subsidized by the company, which meant even a full meal cost less than the sad sandwiches she used to pack. "This place seems too good to be true," said one of the other women, whose name was Monica. "Like, where's the catch?" "I don't think there is one," said another person, a young man named Tyler. "My cousin works here. Has for 5 years. He says it really is this good. Says the CEO actually cares about people." Jennifer thought about Robert on the side of the highway, loosening his tie and looking at her engine. Yeah, he cared about people. She'd seen that firsthand. The weeks passed quickly. Jennifer learned the new systems, the new procedures, the new way of doing things. It was similar to her old job in some ways, but different in others. Better in most ways. The customers were happier, for one thing. Richardson Industries made quality products and stood behind them, so there were fewer complaints. And when there were problems, Jennifer had the authority to actually fix them. At her old job, she'd had to follow rigid scripts and couldn't deviate even when it would help the customer. Here, she was trusted to use her judgment. She was good at it, too. Within a month, her supervisor was praising her work. Within 2 months, she was training newer employees. Within 3 months, she was being mentioned as a candidate for team leader. The money made a huge difference. Jennifer was able to quit her cleaning job. She spent evenings with Lily now, helping with homework, playing games, just being present. She started putting money into a real savings account, not just an envelope in a dresser drawer. She bought Lily new clothes that actually fit, not hand-me-downs from neighbors. She took her daughter to the movies for the first time in over a year. Small luxuries that didn't feel small at all when you'd been doing without. But Jennifer hadn't forgotten where she came from. She hadn't forgotten what it felt like to be desperate, to be one disaster away from losing everything. She started volunteering at a local food bank on Saturday mornings, just a few hours a week, helping sort donations and pack boxes for families in need. Lily came with her sometimes, and Jennifer explained that they were helping people who needed it, just like they'd been helped. "Like the Angel Man?" Lily asked. "Yes, sweetie." "Like Robert?" Jennifer still hadn't seen him. Richardson Industries was a big company, and the CEO didn't exactly hang around the call center. But she thought about him often, wondered if he knew she worked here now, wondered if he remembered her at all. Then one Friday afternoon in late summer, about 4 months after she'd started the job, there was an announcement over the intercom. "Attention all employees. Mr. Richardson will be conducting a walkthrough of the facility this afternoon. Please continue with your normal duties." Jennifer's heart started pounding. She was going to see him again. After all this time, she'd finally have a chance to thank him properly. She tried to focus on her work, but she kept glancing toward the door of the call center, waiting. An hour passed, then another. Maybe he wouldn't come to their department. Maybe the walkthrough was just for manufacturing or management. Then the door opened, and there he was. Robert Richardson, looking exactly as he had that day on the highway. Except this time his tie wasn't loosened and he wasn't standing by a broken-down car. He was walking through the call center with several other executives, stopping at workstations, talking to employees, asking questions about their work. Jennifer watched him move through the room, getting closer to her desk. Her mouth went dry. What would she say? How should she greet him? He stopped at the cubicle next to hers, talking to Monica about her experience so far. Then he turned to Jennifer's desk. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Jennifer saw recognition flash across his face, followed by something else. Surprise? Pleasure? She couldn't quite read it. "Hello," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Robert Richardson." Jennifer shook his hand, feeling the same warmth she'd felt that day on the highway. His grip was firm, friendly. "I know who you are," she said quietly. "You helped me once." "On the highway?" "A few months ago." Robert smiled, that same genuine smile. "I remember. How's the car running?" "Perfectly. Thanks to you." "I'm glad to hear it." He glanced at her computer screen, at her employee badge. "You work here now?" "That's wonderful." "Best decision I ever made," Jennifer said. "This company, this job, it's changed my life. So thank you for everything." Robert's expression grew serious. "You don't need to thank me. You earned this position. I looked at your file after I saw your name on the new hire list. Your performance reviews are excellent. You're a valuable member of our team. You knew I was here? Not until after you were hired. And I didn't influence the decision. But I'm very glad you're here." He paused. "Have you been paying it forward?" Jennifer thought about the food bank, about helping Mrs. Chen, about all the small kindnesses she'd tried to show to others. "I'm trying," she said. "That's all any of us can do. Keep trying." He smiled again. "It was good to see you again, Jennifer. Keep up the excellent work." Then he moved on to the next workstation, continuing his tour. Jennifer sat there feeling like her heart might burst. He'd remembered her. He'd known she was here, and he was proud of the work she was doing. That evening, Jennifer picked up Lily from her after-school program and took her out for ice cream. They sat in the shop eating sundaes, and Jennifer told her daughter about seeing Robert again. "I told you he was an angel," Lily said through a mouthful of chocolate ice cream. Jennifer laughed. "Maybe you were right." She thought about everything that had happened since that night on the highway. The job, the stability, the hope. All of it started with one person deciding to help a stranger. That's all it took to change someone's life. One act of kindness, one moment of caring. And now Jennifer was in a position to do the same for others. Not in big ways, not yet, but in small ways that might mean everything to someone who needed it. That's what Robert had taught her. That's what she'd learned. Kindness wasn't about grand gestures. It was about showing up, helping when you could, being present for people in their moment of need. And it rippled outward, touching more lives than you'd ever know. Jennifer finished her ice cream and smiled at her daughter. Life was good. Not perfect, but good, and getting better all the time, all because one man had stopped to help a stranger on a darkening highway. A year passed since Jennifer started working at Richardson Industries. A full year of stability, of growth, of slowly building a life that felt secure instead of constantly teetering on the edge of disaster. Jennifer had been promoted to team leader 6 months in. The raise that came with it meant she could finally afford to move to a better apartment, one in a neighborhood with good schools. Lily was thriving, making friends, bringing home report cards that made Jennifer cry happy tears. But Jennifer hadn't forgotten where she came from. Every Saturday morning, she still volunteered at the food bank. She'd started a coat drive at work during the winter, collecting donations for families who needed warm clothes. Small things, but they mattered. She'd also enrolled in online classes, working toward finishing her degree. Richardson Industries' tuition assistance program covered most of the cost. She took one class at a time, fitting homework in after Lily went to bed. It was slow progress, but it was progress. Life had found a rhythm. Wake up, get Lily ready for school, go to work, pick up Lily, help with homework, make dinner, study, sleep, repeat. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. It was good. Then came the morning that changed everything again. It was a Tuesday in October. Jennifer arrived at work to find an email from Catherine in HR. The subject line read, "Special opportunity. Please review." Jennifer clicked it open. Curious. The email explained that Richardson Industries was hosting its annual company-wide town hall meeting next month. All employees were invited. But more than that, the company was looking for employees to share their stories during the event. Stories about what working at Richardson Industries meant to them. Catherine's email specifically asked if Jennifer would be willing to speak. She'd been nominated by her supervisor as someone with a compelling story and strong communication skills. Jennifer stared at the email for a long moment. Speak in front of the entire company? That was terrifying. She talked to customers on the phone all day, but that was different. That was one-on-one, where she couldn't see their faces. Standing on a stage in front of hundreds of people, maybe even Robert himself, that was something else entirely. Her finger hovered over the reply button. She could say no, politely decline, say she wasn't comfortable with public speaking, but then she thought about the old Jennifer, the one who'd been stranded on the highway with a dying phone battery and no idea what to do. That Jennifer wouldn't have had a story worth sharing. That Jennifer had been invisible, struggling, barely surviving. This Jennifer, the one who'd been given a chance and made the most of it, she had something to say. Maybe her story could inspire someone else. Maybe it could remind people why kindness mattered. She typed out a reply. I'd be honored to share my story. Thank you for thinking of me. She hit send before she could change her mind. Over the next few weeks, Jennifer worked with Catherine and the events team to prepare. They helped her craft her speech, gave her tips on public speaking, and even had her practice in front of a small group. Just speak from the heart, Catherine advised. Tell them what this job has meant to you and your daughter. That's all you need to do. Jennifer practiced at home too, standing in front of her bathroom mirror saying the words over and over until they felt natural. Lily would sometimes peek through the doorway and watch. You're going to be great, Mommy, her daughter would say with absolute confidence. Jennifer wished she felt that confident. The night before the town hall, Jennifer barely slept. She kept running through her speech in her head. Terrified she'd forget everything the moment she stepped on stage. What if she froze? What if she started crying? What if people thought her story was boring? Morning came too fast. Jennifer got dressed carefully, choosing her nicest work outfit. She did her makeup, fixed her hair, tried to look calm even though her stomach was doing flips. She dropped Lily off at school, giving her an extra long hug. You've got this, Mommy, Lily said, patting her mother's arm like she was the adult and Jennifer was the child. The town hall was being held in the large auditorium at Richardson Industries headquarters. Jennifer had never been to this part of the building before. It was impressive, modern, and professional, with a big stage and rows of seats that stretched back into shadows. By 11 o'clock, the auditorium was packed. Hundreds of employees filled the seats chatting with each other, excited for the break from their normal work routine. Jennifer sat in the front row with the other speakers, her heart hammering in her chest. The lights dimmed. Robert walked onto the stage to enthusiastic applause. He looked completely comfortable up there, smiling and waving, waiting for the noise to die down before he spoke. Thank you all for being here, he began. This company wouldn't exist without you. Every single person in this room contributes to our success, and I want you to know that I see that. I appreciate that. He talked about the company's achievements over the past year. New contracts, expansion into new